Was doing some thinking lately, and I decided that I wanted to talk about RJ Barrett because there's not much else going on, so I guess I've finally ran out of topics. I've been pretty dismissive about RJ Barrett in the past year, not necessarily calling him bad or anything like that, more so just not really caring about him and not thinking much of him, but mostly that was just to piss off Knicks fans, because that's one of the best ways in the world to pass time, because it's amazing. However, I do think he has quite a bit of potential. I just never really got around to talking about it. He has a great upside on both ends of the court. He has the perfect body for the modern NBA. He's a wing with long arms. He's 6'7". He's already pretty filled out. I don't think he really needs to put on extra muscle. It certainly would not hurt, but he's not like Brandon Ingram or anything like that. He's very athletic, and that can help him on both ends of the court. Offensively, he's pretty good at getting to the basket. With his size, he can bounce off of people and still finish layups, or have people bounce off of him, as a matter of fact. His athleticism helps him play above the rim. He has the length to stretch out for some layups and things like that. He has a pretty good handle on the ball. He is not phenomenal at it, but he does get the job done. He's not someone who I expect to have a big problem with turnovers. He averaged 2.2 for his rookie year in 30 minutes a game. I don't think that's bad. It's not necessarily good, but like I said, it gets the job done. His percentage at the basket is not amazing. He shoots 58% from 0 to 3 feet, which is basically layups. But I think that's because of a few factors. One, his team has no spacing, so there's a lot of times where he's going into a lineup with Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, and he's attacking the basket, and both of their defenders are there. Also, it's his jump shot. If his jump shot improves, I think that would help him shoot better at the basket, because that would allow him to open up space for himself at the rim. The defense doesn't really respect Barrett's jump shot at the moment, and because of that, they're likely to back up and be ready for him to barrel into them, which leads to a lower percentage at the basket. I think more spacing and him being able to shoot would open up his ability to be a lethal attacker of the basket. The Knicks offense is not built for him to be really good at that right now, but I think once his jump shot gets better, he'll definitely be able to attack the basket better with some spacing around him. Overall, his jump shot does need work, but there is a reason to have hope. At face value, his numbers overall are not great. He shoots 40% from the field, 32% from 3, 60-something% from the free throw line, but I think he'll be fine with proper work down the line. He has a good-looking form, so that's not the issue. I think it's just a lack of consistency. His free throw percentage is not a good sign, because one of the marks of a good shooter is a good free throw percentage, and Barrett has a bad one. But I think he can be a decent mid-range shooter, and someone that you cannot leave open for 3, but also not a massive threat from out there. Kind of like with the comparison in the thumbnail, Jimmy Butler, other than this year because Butler has not been able to hit a 3 to save his life, but in general for the past few years, he has been a good 3-point shooter, or really just passable, but also if he gets a wide open 3, you're not like, oh shit, we fucked up. But what intrigues me most about Barrett as an offensive talent is his vision. It's interesting because Barrett very clearly has good passing vision. He makes very impressive passes rather consistently. However, he does not average a whole lot of assists, and he also just sometimes doesn't go to it. It's weird where he's like a guy who has great vision, but also can have tunnel vision at times, which really doesn't make sense, but that's kind of how he is. So he'll have a game where he has 7 assists and a game where he has 1. It's very odd. It almost seems like he turns it off and on, but I think if you were able to harness that vision and have him actively look to make passes, which I think coaches could tell him to do, he would be a guy that I think could average 7 assists a game. Right now he averages 2.5, but I think with the proper help and offensive talent around him, with the spacing, being utilized as a playmaker, would again be able to average around 7 assists. He just needs the right system around him, and he needs the offense to be running through him. Defensively, he has a lot of upside. that same physical profile that I mentioned earlier gives him a lot of defensive advantages. His height, length, strength, and athleticism. He should be able to guard 1 through 4, provided that he puts up the effort on that end. He also could guard some 5s because it seems like 5s are getting smaller and smaller because apparently now PJ Tucker is a center. But he does have the right instincts in general defensively, though with everything with RJ Barrett, that can sometimes be inconsistent. But every sign points to him being a good defender in this league. It just is a matter of being consistent, just like everything else with RJ Barrett. He is also a pretty solid rebounder, averages 6 a game per 36. Not amazing, but not bad for sure for a small forward. Now, you heard me mention, talking about his offense, that he is built around poorly, and that how he's built around really matters. And as of right now, the Knicks are built around him about as horribly as they can be. They are starting Julius Randle at power forward, Taj Gibson at center, Elfrid Payton at point guard, and they had Marcus Morris at small forward before he was traded. Those are 3 non-shooters around Barrett, and that is horrible. Marcus Morris is picking up the entirety of the slack of the shooting of this team. Elfrid Payton is another guy that detracts from RJ Barrett because he is a playmaker that cannot shoot. So he's taking the ball out of RJ's hands where he can be effective as a scorer and a playmaker, and then when RJ does have the ball, he cannot shoot a 3 to save his life. So that's just a horrible mix right there. Looking at the player comparison I made in the thumbnail, that being Jimmy Butler, the way the Miami Heat have built around Butler with the shooting that they have with Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard, it shows how valuable a playmaking attacking wing with shooters around him can be, especially in the modern NBA. The Knicks need to trade for, sign, or draft some shooting, probably some variety of all of that. There are a lot of pretty damn solid shooters in this year's draft and some pretty damn solid free agent shooters. Though they do have some great shooting already, they just haven't been giving those players minutes. Damian Dotson, who's an extremely underrated player, is a really good shooter. Alonzo Trier is a good shooter. Wayne Ellington is a good shooter, and all of them are getting 18 minutes a game. Portis, who is a good shooter as a 4, plays just 21 minutes a game. Reggie Bullock got hurt, but before that he was only playing 23 minutes. Now, it'd be understandable if there were players that were just far superior taking these minutes, but guys like Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina have been getting minutes away from those guys. And I guess I understand it if they're trying to tank, that they wouldn't be playing veteran players like that. That would also give you a better basketball product, but if you're trying to develop RJ Barrett, surrounding him with a bunch of non-shooters is not how you do it. RJ plus shooting should be the foundation of this team. Julius Randle, I think, should be traded because Mitchell Robinson should be starting, and Julius Randle cannot shoot. Interestingly enough, Mitchell Robinson has actually been working on being able to shoot, and he has good form, so maybe that'll be a thing a few years from now. There was a rumor that they would be going after Christian Wood for this team. I like his fit there. Normally I'd be like, oh no, I don't want one of my favorite players on the Knicks, but he's already on the Pistons, so it can't get a whole lot worse than that. Wood is a very good shooting 4, and he can provide that same post scoring and rim rolling that Julius Randle does while being able to space the floor. You could also sign some other shooters in free agency. I think Fred VanVleet would be amazing next to Barrett if the Raptors would let him go. You'd probably have to overpay, probably $20+ million a year, but I do think that would be worth it because he would be the perfect point guard to put next to RJ Barrett. But give RJ spacing and give him a few years to develop, and I think that he could be a top 15 or so player in the NBA, maybe depending, even bordering on top 10, which is pretty much the same area that I think Jimmy Butler has been the past few years. Now, all we need for this to happen is for the New York Knicks to be a competent franchise. Oh boy. That basically means we will never see Barrett at his full potential because the Knicks are going to nick. They suck at being even semi-competent, And because of that, I don't think RJ Barrett is going to live up to his full potential until he is either moved to a team who does it, or the Knicks actually shock all of us and are semi-competent. And realistically, the first one is more likely to happen than the second. But RJ Barrett, he has the perfect NBA body for a wing. He has a lot of offensive and defensive upside. As a playmaking, rim-attacking wing, he could be very valuable. It's all about just getting that potential to be unleashed for him to actually be the player that he's meant to be. Will the Knicks do it? Probably not. But that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.